Hello, hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Embodied Divinity. Let's start by taking a deep breath in, exhaling audibly, and just sinking into this space, letting this conversation hold you, and setting the intention to welcome in whatever is meant for you today. In today's conversation, we're speaking to the part of you that's afraid to try again, or the part of you that wants to move forward but still aches, the part of you that wants to trust in yourself, in life, in source, in love, but doesn't know how to, not fully anyway. This is the reclamation of trust. It's not a blind optimism or a toxic positivity. It's not hustle-fueled action. It's deep, raw, sacred trust, born from the ruins, the missteps, the grief, the burnouts, the betrayals. Because if you're anything like me, you've trusted people who didn't deserve your loyalty. You've followed paths that drained your soul. And you kept showing up until your body said no more. And maybe now you're laying in the quiet, wondering how to rebuild, how to do it without losing yourself again. And I want to name what happens when trust breaks, not necessarily externally, but internally. It often starts really subtly. You override your gut because you're trying to be kind or see the good. You push yourself to do what worked for others, even when it doesn't feel aligned. You abandoned your inner knowing to stay in a relationship, job, a community, or a business that no longer felt true. And at first, it might look like success, but inside your system is panicking. Your body is starting to tighten, and somewhere along the way, your heart just whispers, I don't trust myself anymore. And that is one of the most devastating moments. Not because you're weak, but because the deepest wound is abandoning your own inner authority. And I know this feeling all too well from moments when life broke me down. And honestly, living with CPTSD for a long duration of my life has made it so it's been the work to learn how to rebuild that internal authority and trust again in myself. And I see this with clients. I've lived it. It's not dating because you're afraid you'll choose another misaligned partner. It's not launching that new program or book or idea because you're scared of failing again. It's saying you want ease, but then sabotaging it because part of you doesn't believe you've earned it. It's working hard, but never really letting go enough to receive what you desire. It doesn't mean you're crazy for feeling this way. You're not broken. You're human. And your nervous system is doing its job, keeping you safe by avoiding anything that reminds you of its past pain. But self-trust isn't built through control. It's rebuilt through compassion, through presence, through keeping small promises to yourself over and over and over again. So I want to talk about a couple ways we lose self-trust in the first place. Number one, CPTSD and repeated betrayals. When your body has been wired to survive and not thrive, it learns to expect the worst. So even when good things show up, you tense, you brace, you withhold. CPTSD is complex trauma. It doesn't come from a single catastrophic event. It comes from repeated, small, chronic betrayals of safety and love and belonging. The slow, grinding realization over time that you are not protected, not seen, not chosen, over and over and over again. It could have been emotional neglect in childhood, or a way you were constantly invalidated, or how you had to be the strong one, the responsible one, the one who never cracked. If you had to grow up too fast and take on too much responsibility, if you were a parentified child, or if you were just in an unsafe living environment. And when those betrayals pile up, especially when they come from the people or the systems you are supposed to trust the most, your nervous system adapts and it says, don't open up, don't hope too much, don't feel safe yet, don't get your hopes up. Good things don't last. So even when love shows up, even when the money finally comes in, even when you feel a moment of peace, you flinch. You wait for the shoe to drop. You withhold your joy just in case. This is not your fault. It's a body doing exactly what it was trained to do, protect you from more pain. But it's also the root of why trust feels so elusive. Because when you survived so much, thriving can feel like a threat. It's unfamiliar, it's unpracticed, it's unlearned in your trauma's language. So we freeze or self sabotage or grip tightly to control. Because somewhere deep down we believe, if I let go, I'll hurt again. And that's been one of the wildest wounds for me to heal and embody and accept and open to and evolve through. Because learning to thrive and feel joy and feel pleasure when you've known a life of betrayal and pain feels so foreign. Another way that self trust moves away from us is the hustle culture and spiritual guilt. We're conditioned to believe that trust equals action and visibility and hustle and more hustle. But for the sensitive, intuitive souls, that's often a trauma response, not alignment. This is the spiritual wound of our generation. We were raised in a world that rewarded performance and not presence, where hard work was the only acceptable currency for worthiness. So we internalize, if I rest, I'm lazy. If I'm not producing, I'm falling behind. If I'm not visible, I don't exist. And even as we woke up spiritually, we brought those patterns with us into our healing businesses, into our sacred art, into our content and offerings. We made our truth another thing to monetize. We made trust another thing to prove. And then came the spiritual guilt. If I was really aligned, I'd be further along. If I was truly trusting God, source, universe, I wouldn't be this anxious. If I just pushed harder, I'd finally arrive. But for an intuitive soul like you, pushing is often a trauma response. It's not flow. It's the nervous system saying, I don't feel safe unless I'm in control. And so trust, like real trust, requires a full deconstruction of that belief system, a choosing of rhythm over urgency, a shift from marketing from lack to sharing with overflow, a life built not on burnout, but on belonging to yourself. So let's take a deep breath, because those two, the CPTSD and the spiritual guilt, those are heavy. Let's breathe into those if anything arose with you. Just allow that to be okay, whatever's moving through your system. Just allow it to be okay and keep breathing. And if you can, sway your hips a little, rock your body a little. keep your feet or your butt firmly rooted on the ground. Another way this self trust moves away from us is when we spiritual bypass in the name of faith. How many of us have told ourselves, God's got me, the universe has me, while silently freaking out, gripping, forcing? Real trust isn't bypass, it's embodied. And most of us never learn how to feel safe in that surrender. We all say the right words, we light the candles, we pull the cards, we write in our manifestation journals, we say, I trust the process. But underneath so many of those familiar phrases, we're gripping. We're spiraling at night. We're trying to force the timeline. We're begging the universe to show us signs, not because we're patient, but because we're panicking. And I choose to believe this isn't hypocrisy, but rather heartbreak. It's what happens when we try to skip over the real work of building a secure relationship with the divine. Trusting God or the universe isn't just saying the words. It's letting go of the need to micromanage everything. It's learning to sit in uncertainty without making it mean you're unsafe. It's learning to let joy coexist with grief, hope coexist with surrender, longing coexist with peace. And for many of us, faith was taught as obedience, not intimacy. So we confuse passivity with trust. We tell ourselves it'll all work out. But deep down, we don't believe it unless we're controlling the outcome. Real trust is messy. It trembles. It says, I don't know how this ends, and I'm still willing to stay open. It says, even if nothing happens today, I won't abandon myself. It says, even if it looks like nothing is working, I am still supported. And that kind of trust isn't that airy fairy woohoo. It's gritty and embodied devotion, and it's built, not borrowed. So these are three of the main ways that we lose self-trust. And there's so many other. But instead of just listing all the things that might resonate, I want you to move away with some practices that you can start to shift this. So again, let's take a deep breath. Move your body if it feels right. The very first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with one small kept promise a day. Pick something micro, like drinking a glass of water or pulling a card or journaling for 3 minutes. For me, when I was recovering from cancer, I had cancer in my right mandible about 13 years ago, and the chemo caused trigeminal neuralgia in my right mandible, then the whole side of my face, where it just is basically excruciating pain, nerve pain that doesn't go away. And so the first few years after being cleansed of cancer, what have you, and still dealing with the constant pain of this neuralgia in my jaw, I had to start learning how to take care of my mouth again, specifically the few pieces of teeth and gum that were right under those raw nerves, because brushing my teeth was like the worst pain in my whole life after that. And so it start with these daily practices of, doing my normal, brushing all the rest of my teeth, and then slowly loving on that one. And for me, for almost a year, it was just brushing that section of my teeth twice a day with love and compassion as I learned to face that uncomfortability. It can be anything that's showing up in your life right now. Maybe you want to walk more, or you want to have more energy, and so you choose to go on a 10-minute walk every day, or even a 2-minute walk. It can be these really tiny micro consistencies that say, I keep my word to myself. The other one is to let rest be productive. It's really embodying the belief that you're present, that rest doesn't equal failure, because that's one of the biggest wounds that we carry, especially like in a lot of these consumeristic societies. We believe that rest equals failure. But when you rest with presence and not guilt, you're saying, I trust that life will still unfold while I pause. I'm not the only force at work here. Because rest, real rest, is a frequency, and it's one that tells your body you're safe even when you're not performing. And honestly, it's something that we all need to practice a little bit more. So we're keeping one small promise a day. We're letting rest be really productive. If you go to yoga, you know that savasana is one of the, not one, the best asana, the one that we do it all for, rest. I want you to create safety rituals, grounding touch, breath work, lighting a candle and saying, I trust myself to choose with clarity. It can be rocking back and forth, or tapping, or moving your hips while you fold your laundry. But these rituals that are like prayers from your body regulate your nervous system. And self trust, more than anything, is built in the body. It's not just in the mind. The mind comes first, usually, but we can simultaneously move the body and the mind together. And then you're going to name the saboteur with compassion. When you catch yourself sabotaging, not posting, not reaching out, ghosting your own creativity, don't shame it. Instead, get curious and ask, what part of me doesn't feel safe to be seen or succeed? And bring that person in, love on them, give them a voice. That's how we build safety within ourselves. So, again, we're keeping one small promise a day. We're letting rest be productive. We're creating these beautiful safety rituals and naming the saboteur with compassion and acceptance. And that's really what we're going to focus on this week. Before we start to move through the ending of this, I want to remind you that on Wednesday, there will be a guided meditation that will help you sink deeper into this energy. And all week, I'm posting on Substack in-depth articles and things you can do to move forward, and also small notes throughout the day to just keep this theme moving through the air as we integrate it. So I want to talk about, for all of you who are entrepreneurs, creators, and visionaries, the way that business and self-trust come together. Because this is a big one if you're one of those things that I mentioned. If you're not trusting yourself or the universe, your business starts to reflect that. You stall on launches, you guess here on your pricing, you chase numbers while hiding your truest voice, you buy every single program that someone says will help get you to the next step. But what honestly needs to change more than anything is knowing that the most magnetic business strategy is trust, not in trends or what worked for someone else, but really trust in your essence and authenticity. It's an energy that says, this work that I'm doing, whatever it may be, this work that I'm doing is sacred and it transforms, and I don't need to control it to receive from it. You can show up less and earn more if the energy is aligned, but only if you trust that being seen in your truth is safe now. Because when you feel safe being seen in your truth, everything starts to align. And I know just as well as anyone that trusting the universe is hard, especially when you've prayed for something and didn't get it, when you've been through loss and illness and betrayal and burnout. But the question becomes, and I've asked myself this question over and over again, can I open my heart again? Not because I'm sure of what will happen, but because I refuse to let pain or fear harden me forever. And that for me is holy. It's how we start again, by opening our heart to love. So, if this conversation found you in your soft bed, like I was the other day with my hips aching and my heart heavy, if it found you in that quiet stillness of wondering and of rebuilding the trust inside of you, I want you to hear this. You are not lost. You are not failing. You are rebuilding trust in the ashes of who you used to be. And that, sweet one, is holy work. I see you and I honor you, and I'm walking this path with you. Before we wrap it up, I have a few gentle invitations if they resonate. If something stirred within you today, or you're walking your own path of rebuilding, or really just if you've been longing for a deeper connection with yourself, I encourage you to, of course, check out the weekly offerings, the Substack and the meditation, but also my book, Breathe Deep and Plan on Miracles, or the Inner Child Oracle cards. I created these offerings to serve you on your journey home. So if those resonate, you can hit me up anywhere that you're listening to this, or you can check out the link in the bios of wherever you're listening to this. I have tons of resources available. And as I continue opening to the sacred art of receiving, if this conversation moved you, or if it offered something real, share it with a friend or a circle or a community, or just someone who might need the reminder that they're still worthy of trust. You never know whose life you're sharing could touch. And thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting your own unfolding. Thank you for letting my voice meet yours. I love you. I see you. Breathe deep and plan on miracles. I'll meet you right here next time.